Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here.
Meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel.
Another week, another episode.
Wait, what did you say?
Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring another video. This time we're going to be talking about my thoughts on Season 3 or Series 3 of BBC's Merlin.
You don't know how much I regret everything that I've done. I hope that you can forgive me.
The battle for Camelot is about to begin.
I've done videos on Merlin in the past, did my videos on Season 1 and Season 2, and I've finally gotten back to watching the show, thoroughly enjoying it, honestly, and I thought now is the time to, of course, do another video on it. I plan on doing videos on the last 2 seasons as well, and yeah, I know those videos are kind of spaced out. Like, sometimes I feel like I have to be in a certain mood for something to watch a whole season with, which I think makes sense. But Merlin is actually a show that means more to me than that, even though it seems like it's just that. And that's because I've actually been into Merlin for a pretty long time, really. You see, I'm 22, I've been out of high school for about 3 years. But I remember even as far back as middle school, or roughly give or take, I didn't have as many ways to watch shows. I was already behind on Merlin. It was before I hit like the big TV boom I did a few years ago and just got so obsessed with everything. But Merlin's a show I've always had a keen interest in, because I remember I had heard of Merlin. I had seen previews for it when they would air the episodes on Sci-Fi. And I was interested. I was pulled in, and so I would go on like the wikis, that people create, and read through the characters and their histories and what happens, in certain episodes, which kind of spoils it, sure. But I just wanted some way to know what was going on, and I still felt pulled in by the show and the world of it all. Large part of that is due to Katie McGraw, who's one of my favorite actresses, and I've just been so enthralled by her since middle school, really. Morgana was a big pull to the show for me initially, and she's still probably my favorite character on the show overall. But of course, I've just gotten to love the entire cast, the dynamic between Merlin and Arthur, of course, Uther, especially Anthony Stewart Head. Now that I've seen him in quite a bit of Buffy. He's just a really, really talented actor. But yeah, so I'm excited to found a newfound passion and love for Merlin, and I'm gonna keep going on it. I'm watching some other stuff. I'm already into season 4 a little bit. It's fantastic so far, honestly. So I definitely count on another Merlin video probably within the next month or so at the very least. I'm excited to finally watch it and full. I'm definitely enjoying myself. And now, I'll probably make a bigger video on this at some point when I eventually finish the series. It's like an overall, comment on it. But right now I do want to say that I think Merlin can sort of surprise you because it does come off and it is sort of like a family adventure drama, fantasy type of show. It's definitely not like Game of Thrones or anything like that. Not just because of its lower budget either, which it does have, and they work with what they have. But it is a little more family friendly. Kids can watch it for the most part and stuff like that too. But it sneaks up on it because it has like these steadily building sort of overarching themes for the characters and the story. Destiny and everything like that, and this growing darkness and the tragedy of Morgana and just how all these things line up. It actually runs a little bit deeper than you initially think when you watch it on the surface. And then as it gets into what it did near the end of this season, or I know it's going to be getting to in the final 2 seasons, they've built something here. Now, season 3, series 3, I really enjoyed. Is it my favorite season so far? Probably overall. Although season 4 is looking very, very strong, and even more focused than this season was. I definitely think, I can remember reading before, I don't know if it was Katie McGraw or someone else, they had said they feel like they had found their footing as a show in season 3 a little bit more, which I agree with. It felt a little more coherent, it felt a little bit more focused. Of course, it still has its episodes where it diverges a little bit and, has like a, magical throughout the week type of thing. But, it still felt a little more well put together, a little more well planned out in this season, and even more so again in season 4. But I really liked the season. I really enjoyed season 3. There's still a couple episodes I really like from season 1. There's still some in season 2, of course, but overall this is probably the best of the 3 anyway. The first 3. But yeah, you had episodes like, Goblin's Gold, the goblin possessing Gaius and everything like that. But then he had Gwaine being introduced in the season as well, who I think is a likable character, and the actor does a nice job, bringing life into him, making him feel like part of the world we know. Although I'm not a fan of like the constant, other love interest for Gwen, because we have Arthur obviously, but then we have Gwaine, we have Lancelot. So I feel like it's a bit, it's almost like a trope in the show. But he's alright, he's making for a fine addition to the show, and I do find his presence welcoming. One of the best episodes of the season was definitely episode 5, though, the Crystal Cave. Merlin has a meeting with a wizened old sorcerer who takes the young warlock to the Crystal Cave and shows him a glimpse of the future. This is when he sees one of Morgana's attempts to kill Uther. But of course, Merlin prevents this, using his power. He knocks her out, but actually severely injures, I think it's her brain, some sort of internal bleeding or something. And Merlin, he still ends up making the choice to try and save her life, despite, even the dragon's wishes and stuff like that. And knowing what Morgana could bring to the future of Camelot and the chaos of it all, he still decides to save Morgana's life. So I thought that was actually a really well acted and well portrayed episode by Colin Morgan and Cave McGraw. He got a good bit of emotion out of that. In this episode, we also see that, for the first time in a while, we see Morgana almost taken back by how much Uther actually cared about what happened to her, how emotional he was about losing her, which we see more of at the end of the season in a different way. And into season 4, but it was still good, and it was almost like Morgana was finally pulling back a little bit on what she was doing with more ghosts and stuff like that. But then she finds out, she's actually the daughter of Uther, and he doesn't want to acknowledge her because either he's ashamed or he wants to keep the power for himself, or both. So Uther, he's definitely become a more multi-dimensional character for sure, which they've played on a little bit in the series. Like one of my favorite episodes in season 1, episode 12, was when Morgana almost killed Uther as well. So I thought that was definitely, might have been the best episode of the season overall. I'm not sure. We'll talk more about Morgana overall in a minute. And you had the Changeling episode where Arthur is almost forced into a marriage again. We meet Gwen's brother on the way again as well. The Eye of the Phoenix is pretty good as well. You know, to prove himself worthy of the throne, Arthur embarks on a solitary quest to retrieve the Golden Trident from the Fisher King. I like this one, but what kept it from being sort of like one of the best episodes to me, I think, was, of course, Merlin. He had to go along and, make sure Arthur was safe and make sure he actually succeeded and stayed alive. And I feel like that happens a bit too much in the show. I get it's the point. I get it's really Merlin's destiny we're focusing on, what he makes sure and ensures happens. But part of me kind of wanted an episode just where Arthur sort of proves his worth on his own. And we get that here and there, kind of sprinkled throughout the show, of course. But I would almost like this being like an Arthur solo episode or something to prove he really can do it. But, it is what it is. It's the premise of the show. And then he had Love in the Time of Dragons. Merlin is forced to tell Gaius about the evil intent of Alice, his recently returned former love. After learning she's under Manicor's influence. So it was good seeing another side to Gaius, not just him looking out on Merlin all the time and stuff like that and guiding him. And the actress they had for his former love was fairly good as well, but it felt like it kind of broke up the main story a little bit. I think it was a little bit mistimed. It should have been an earlier season episode. But, it is what it is. Then Queen of Hearts was a really good one as well. Tormented by dreams of Guinevere becoming Queen of Camelot, Morgana exhorted by more ghosts. Decides to reveal Arthur and Gwen's relationship to Uther, taking a, horse ride out with them and then, catching them, trying to have a day together. And I thought it was a sweet episode. You actually got to see how much Arthur cared about Gwen, and so much I'd actually drop his, claim to the throne just to, leave and be with her, if nothing else. So I like how that played out as well. And then sort of probably had to reverse the whole thing, go back to acting like they don't have any connection to each other. But still, it was a good sort of, emphasis on that dynamic for sure. Then the Sorcerer's Shadow I thought was an alright one, with Camelot's famed tournament getting underway. The city fills with warriors who are joined by a young man with a secret weapon to help him win. Magic. I don't know, it felt like a pretty generic type of Merlin episode because we've seen scenarios like that before in tournaments Camelot has, but it was an alright one. And the whole final, the series finale, the two-parter, The Coming of Arthur, I thought it was all pretty good as well. We got to see Morgana finally sit on the throne, which is nice. And Uther being taken and everything like that, really pushing to what the show's been building to in terms of Morgana as the antagonist for a while. So I enjoyed that. And again, like I said, Kay McGraw is probably my personal favorite part of the show, although I've gotten to just love Arthur and Merlin's relationship, their banter and everything. I also really loved... Suddenly I forget what episode it was, but the episode where Merlin, he turns into an old version of himself to, it might have been, I think it was that, Queen of Hearts episode. I could be wrong, I feel bad that I'm forgetting now. But Merlin turns himself into an older version to take the blame for, who was using magic. I think he did it for Gwen's sake, I believe. I could be wrong. Sorry, my mind's been, lately. But just the banter when Merlin's old and Arthur doesn't know who he is, but he senses like a familiarity with them. I've heard how you mistreat your servants and stuff like that. Just the chemistry is just off the charts with the show sometimes. It's great. It's cheesy, kind of campy sometimes, but the humor kind of works when you get into it. So I love that as well. And Morgana this season, I liked her, of course, I always do. Sometimes I feel like they overplay her a little bit, though. Just kind of all of her, like, evil, sly, smirking and stuff like that, I think is a bit overdone. But it is what it is. It's the nature of the show. And I do agree with some people. I feel like they kind of rushed Morgana being so evil. I mean, I get her hatred against Uther now and, what he's done to all the innocent magic wielders and stuff like that. And, holding back her real, parent. or her real connection to him, for the sake of himself. I get her ill will towards Uther. But, she always felt close to Arthur, and, she did care for Merlin for a time, too, although Merlin, of course, partially blames himself for driving Morgana down this path as well. I still feel like there could have been more explored here, and from what I hear, they don't really give Morgana much sort of hesitation with what she tries to go about doing in the last couple seasons. It's sort of her being straight up evil, and she's just kind of that now. So I wish there was more to it. I wish they showed more layers to it, as I think there would be. Some say she is corrupted by more ghosts and her time spent with her, which I think is true. So because of not really being helped by anyone, by Merlin, sort of deciding because of Gaius and others to not tell her about his secret as well to help her. I can see why, she'd be sort of stuck on this path now. But still, I would kind of wish for more for her, although I still love Katie McGrath on the show. So yeah, overall, this is a good season. Overall, the best so far, and it's really leading into a very strong direction in Season 4. I love the first couple of Season 4 already. But we'll talk about that in the Season 4 video. So let me guess a lot about Season 3 of Merlin. So yeah, overall, if I had to rate Merlin Season 3, I forgot to post a rating. But it would probably be, I'd say, roughly around like a B plus, somewhere in there for sure. It's a very solid show, and I do really enjoy it. It's just something worth watching, really, and to me, even at this point, I think Merlin is a classic in its way, and it's starting to climb the ranks a little bit to my all-time favorites. So yeah, let me guys a lot about this season. How do the other seasons compare to you? Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.